Where's Cat? Welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for being here. I'm Zaida, and this is Read Books Get Lit. I'm super excited to be doing my second newbie tag video. I just did the Booktube newbie tag, but today I will be doing the Authortube newbie tag. So we're going to talk about writing, my current manuscript that I'm working on. Very excited about this. I pulled this set of questions from Jenna Streety, so let's dive right into it. Question number one. What's your book's pitch? I'm going to give you some comp titles or comparable titles. I would say my story is a combination of Sarah Ackerman's Red Sky Over Hawaii with Tracy Chee's We Are Not Free. And I actually have We Are Not Free. I don't think you can see it, but it's here in the corner. It's hiding behind my Dr. Seuss Funko Pop. But my story, it is YA historical fiction. It is set in Hawaii on Oahu in 1943. It is very much the story of the Japanese experience post Pearl Harbor, specifically in Hawaii. That is one thing that I want to stress. Yes, there are tons and tons of World War II stories. I know that. But I really don't think that there are stories set in Hawaii about the local community and the local population. And that is something that I definitely wanted to bring to the masses, to audiences, to readers. So hopefully I will get to do that one day. Question number two. If you were a book, how would you pitch yourself? I was trying to think of how I would summarize my life so far, or just who I am in general, but I'm going to kind of deviate from this question, and instead I'm going to say, if I were already a book, I would be Winnie the Pooh, because I see myself, traits of myself in all of the main characters, like Pooh, whose life is very much dictated by his love of food, as is mine. I definitely think that I'm a very loyal friend like Piglet. I can definitely get hyped up about stuff like Tigger. Yes, I'm pessimistic like Eeyore. Yes, I can be anal retentive like Rabbit. Sometimes a know-it-all like Owl. But I'm also very protective of people, much like Kanga, and I'm very curious like Roo. So I'm gonna go with Winnie the Pooh. Question number three. What do you usually write? So back in the day, several years ago, pretty much a decade ago, that's when I got serious about writing long form fiction writing. And I started off writing YA contemporary, probably because that was my go to genre that I read. So it just felt like natural for me to write stories in that genre. I actually did write a manuscript. I queried it in 2018, got pretty decent feedback, but didn't pursue that and moved on to other stories. The manuscript that I'm writing now, it's a YA historical fiction, and this I feel is sort of a really good foundational part for me personally, specifically because the story, there's a lot of personal connections to it. I'm not quite sure if I want to remain in a genre per se with my writing, but rather my focus, my goal for the future as I continue to write and tell stories, I really want to tell stories from a Hawaiian perspective, and not just ethnically Hawaiian, but local Hawaiian stories. So for this, my manuscript, the main characters are Japanese. They're not Hawaiian, but it is part of the Hawaiian narrative. The story, the events that takes place, very much ingrained in the fabric of local Hawaiian culture and Hawaiian history. So that's kind of my focus. That's what I'm hoping to work towards someday, hopefully one day. Please and thank you. Number four, what's something you'll never write? Honestly, I do not see myself ever writing a romance novel. Mostly because I don't read romance. I honest to goodness, I cannot think of a single straight romance or even like a 50% romance book that I've read. It's just not my jam. I do like romantic elements, sprinkled throughout the books that I read, but if there was a romance book that, you know, kind of deviated from the formulaic, structure of it, but it still remained true to the genre in other ways, I would give that a try, to be perfectly honest. So if you know of one, please let me know. I would be very interested to learn more about it. Question number 5. What's your goal for starting an Authortube channel? Well, if you're a writer, you probably understand that writing is a pretty lonely job, right? Which makes sense. It's often just you're writing, and you're in your own little bubble. So, being here in the Authortube space, that allows us to connect with one another and to share ideas and seek advice, grow with one another. So, that is a very intriguing part of being here on YouTube, something I'm looking forward to. The other motivating factor, and I don't quite know if there's a way for me to say this without sounding like an asshole, so I'm just going to say it. So for me, I I feel like there's still so much room for improvement when it comes to diversity in the publishing industry, right? I wish that there was more diversity as far as, AuthorTube content creators here on YouTube. And this is not, please don't come at me in the comments. I am not saying this to offend anyone, but this is just an observation that I've made. And for me, I don't see a ton of creators out there that I can relate to on like a personal level of a shared background or similar lived experiences. And no, that I'm not saying that you should only, follow people and watch people who are exactly like you. No, that's not what I'm saying. But I do think that for a lot of people who are in minority groups, it's very common for us to feel like there isn't space for us, that we're not necessarily invited to the table, so to speak, right? And that's one of those things that I told myself. It made no sense, but that's one of the things that I had in my head as to why I haven't started a YouTube channel before this, right? Is because, well, there's not a lot of people out there like me making this content, so who's to say that anyone would want to watch me, because I'm just me. I'm, not that interesting. But that's the kind of narrative that we tell ourselves that prevents us from creating our art, from connecting with people, and from sharing our stories with one another. That's kind of messed up. So, this is my small attempt at adding to the diverse population here on YouTube. This is my small attempt to encourage other people who might have these feelings. There's space for us. There is room for us at the table. In fact, we should take up that space. It is there for us. So that's, I'll leave it at that. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to jump on the soapbox. I will climb back down. But yes, there's room for us. Number 6. What made you want to start writing? I guess I must have been a kid. Like when you're a kid and you write little plays or skits. That's what my sister and I used to do. We used to write these short little puppet shows, and we would perform them for my mom and my grandma in our kitchen, and we would be sitting behind the counter with our little like stuffed animals. That's sort of my first memory of creatively writing for the first time. And of course, you go through school, you write poetry and short stories. And one thing I used to do, which I kind of forgot until recently, do you guys remember Quizilla? I know that that is a very old website. Definitely aging myself with that. But if you remember Quizilla, I think kind of towards like the end of its heyday, you could create, like anyone could create quizzes. And I remember I created a quiz, and then the like result of the quiz, I wrote like 5-page responses, and it was something really silly. It was like, which character would date you in high school or some bullshit like that. I don't know. But the answers that I wrote were like narrative kind of fiction writing. I don't remember why I did that or who I saw do that first, but I know I definitely did that for one show that I used to watch. I won't say the name because nobody's ever seen it, but I I remember I did that, and that is just a fun little tidbit fact that nobody asked for, but I wanted to share with you anyway. Number 7. What's your publishing path? For me, I have always had the intention of being traditionally published, mostly because I do not have any faith whatsoever in my ability to self market my book or me as an author. I don't have the capacity for that. I think I could really benefit from collaborating with an agent and having that agency and all of that support behind me as I move through the process. That's definitely the goal with my current manuscript. I did query a manuscript back in 2018 and sent it to a handful of agents. I got pretty good responses considering, or at least what I thought, was a good response considering it was the first time that I, did the thing. So that's, encouraging. I know the query trenches are bleak most of the time, very daunting. So I'm not really looking forward to going through that again, but it's part of the process, and I will face it head on once I eventually get there. Question number 8. What content do you bring to the Authortube table? I don't necessarily think I'm going to be reinventing the wheel, but I do think that I have unique lived experiences that I can bring to the YouTube space. I'm part Hawaiian, part Japanese, born and raised on Oahu in Hawaii. So that upbringing and that environment, of course, it has shaped who I am, influenced my outlook and perspective on things. So I definitely like to bring that to this channel. Another thing for me that I'm very well aware of, I'm going to show up as authentically Zaida as I can in every video. And that means that my real life is going to spill into these videos. That's just what's going to happen. You might hear the fans going on in the background. Well, that's because it is hot as shit in this apartment and I need them on. Or you might see my cat walking back and forth in the shot. Well, that's because she quite literally owns this place. That's just how it is. You've probably heard that I curse. I curse a lot in real life. Trust me. And I'm not necessarily going to edit my speech because that's who I am. That's just part of Zaida. So I want to be as genuine and sincere as I can be. Hopefully you are digging that and you're okay with that. If not, that's fine. I'm not everybody's cup of tea, but that is my goal as far as showing up and being true to myself and true to the content that I want to share with you. Question number 9. What's your biggest writing struggle? For me, it's just carving out the time and really putting my head down and focusing on my writing. I get in my own way because I know that I want to be writing, but I talk myself out of writing very easily, and I need to definitely stop doing that. Question number 10. What's your best writing skill? I don't know if this is a skill per se, but it is something that I take note of in my writing. I have a really strong affinity for celestial motifs and themes, and I always try to include something along those lines within my story. So I actually pulled one from a YA contemporary story that I wrote years ago. So I'm going to read it. It says, oh, sorry. That was First Cat, in case you heard. So the line goes like this: If only I could tell her. She's a melody on the back of the wind. She is every sunflower in bloom. She is all the moon dust in the universe. That's pretty good, right? I mean, I thought it was good. I'm going to keep that and hopefully be able to use it in a future project. First Cat is now trying to do something with my microphone. I don't know if you guys can see her, but she is slowly but surely settling on my lap. Okay, back to our regular scheduled programming. Question number 11. What is your biggest Authortube question? Going back to the time thing, how does everyone budget their time? Work and family, social lives, other hobbies. So what are your tips? What are your tips and tricks? Please share them below. I would definitely love to go through them. Question number 12. Are you looking for any new channels to follow? Yes, definitely. Leave me your suggestions, your recommendations. Who are your favorite author tubers? Who do you love to get advice from? Please leave them in the comments below. I would love to again grow this community, connect with more people. That's really the goal here, folks. So, yes, any and all suggestions are very much welcome. 13. What are you most excited for during this new fresh start on AuthorTube? So again, very much interested in connecting and being here amongst fellow creatives. Definitely looking forward to that. And with that, we have reached the end of the Authortube Newbie Tag. Thank you so much for sticking it out to the end of the video. It definitely means a lot to me. I can't actually remember if I mentioned this before, so in case I haven't, my channel, Read Books Get Lit, it is a combination of BookTube and Authortube. So I will be posting videos about my writing journey, publishing, the querying process, and I'll also share videos about my favorite authors or book recommendations. So I hope you stick around for that. Speaking of BookTube, if you haven't already, please check out my BookTube Newbie Tag video. You'll get to learn a few things about me as a reader. If there was at least one thing you liked about this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. It can definitely help my little channel grow in the early stages of YouTube life, and I would greatly appreciate that. I hope you guys have a good rest of your day, and I'll catch you in the next video. Until next time, bye.